Good morning, everyone. This is Royce Miller coming back at you with yet another Let's Try. Today on the docket we have Butterscotch Soda. And yes, it is Butterscotch Soda. It's definitely not affiliated with any problematic franchises or their transphobic authors. Um, this is 100% natural, gluten-free. Ah, yes, gluten-free soda. That's the most, because soda has so much gluten in it. Flying Cauldron Butterscotch Beer. Butterscotch Cream Soda, non-alcoholic, 12 ounces. Let's see, sparkling filtered water, cane sugar, natural butterscotch flavor, natural vanilla flavor, caramel color, and stevia leaf extract. Interesting. Stevia is a flavorant that makes things taste sweet when they're not sweet. So yeah, joking aside, this is a non-affiliated butterscotch soda that's based on the Harry Potter butterbeer. Now, here's the thing: they never specifically say that it is a butterscotch flavored beer. You were to infer that from kind of how it's consumed by minors. Butterscotch, butterbeer. I actually don't know why butterscotch is called that. Speaking of problematic authors, that reminds me of a line from the Willy Wonka movie from back in the 70s. You know, what's this, Wonka? Butterscotch, butter gin. You got something funny going on here. Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. Um, so yeah, let's crack her open and give her a try. I used to hate having to do these, but somehow I've gotten good at opening glass bottles. Oh. Oh, here we go. I love butterscotch flavor. And this is a very pleasant butterscotch drink. I suppose I should talk about my relationship with the Harry Potter franchise. The highs, the lows, the peaks, the valleys, and the disillusionment that's made me an apostate to the Gospel of Potter. So let's see. I first heard about Harry Potter the year the first movie came out, actually. My aunt was reading my cousin pages from it, and she read me a passage that was specifically of the Dursleys taking Harry to King's Cross Station. Because in the book, Hagrid didn't abscond with Harry the way he did in the movie. He just spent a couple of days with Harry and then left him with the Dursleys again. And the Dursleys took him to King's Cross when they were on their way to get Dudley's tail removed because, Hagrid tried to turn him into a pig. Anyway. Saw the first film directed by Christopher Columbus. Not the other problematic character in all this, the beloved director of I think Goonies, Home Alone, and Pixels. Ooh, that's not too good, but oh god, Josh Gad calling his mom a cracker. Oh, that is so dumb. Anyway, back to Harry Potter. And I because I already loved magic and magicians and stuff before the movie came out. I got a ton of Harry Potter stuff. Hagrid action figure, a big board game tower where it's the Hogwarts. It's kind of like Harry's Hogwarts journey, but where you go through these chambers on this tower and each one is a different kind of thing involved, different kind of adventure Harry has at Hogwarts in his first year. it even has a little thing that gives you a house. And of course, you don't want Slytherin. I always fancied myself a Ravenclaw, but I think I'd be more of a Hufflepuff. Oh god, that sounds so cringe. Um, anyway, I had the Uno cards, which back in the day had good artwork on it. The modern Harry Potter stuff, where it's got that ugly white background and the live action characters on it, awful. Back in the day, they used to have more of the illustrated work that was done for the original books. Um, and just a ton of stuff like that. The most awesome for me as a kid was probably the animatronic Norbert, based on Hagrid's dragon from the film. And you could pet him, he would purr, his mouth would move up and down, his wings would flap. It was a fascinating toy that I loved, being a person who loves dragons. Oh god, that was the first. I think that was also the first year my mom took me to work with her. Take your child to work day. And of course, the second film came out. Everyone was convinced Daniel Radcliffe was losing his voice because they had pitched up the actors' voices in the first film to make them sound younger. So in the second film, when you have, like 13-year-old Radcliffe playing 12-year-old Harry, he sounds a lot deeper than he should be. Because, both he's older and because that we were used to him pitched up. And that had, weirdly, everyone loves Gilderoy Lockhart. Out of all the characters from that movie, I think he's the one that stuck out the most. Mostly because it was Kevin Branagh just absolutely hamming it up. And of course, you had Jason Isaacs as Draco's dad. Man, poor Tom Felton. Like, I know he it thinks it's a sign that he did a good job, but like, he was typecast because of that. You do not see him anymore outside of like the occasional thing. Like, I think recently he tried to do a science fiction show that was his big return to, the public eye as an actor. The thing I most remember him from, besides Harry Potter, is a club scene in Get Him to the Greek, where Jonah Hill's character says, "Hey, let's play Quidditch, huh?" And Tom just looks at him like, "Let's not." Great joke. Fantastic joke. No notes. And then, of course, the third film, I think, is everyone's favorite. That has the Dementors, which were my favorite villain. I didn't like that how Rowling ended up fleshing them out, where she's like, "Oh, they're actually mold. They're not actual creatures. They're sort of this, just congealed thing." Like, it's not effing Ghostbusters, okay? I would have rather them been tormented souls who, their only solace is now feasting on the souls of others or something. And that I remember, like, the theaters had some amazing, like, holographic posters of Gary Oldman as Sirius Black doing the maniacal laughter. And of course, that introduces stuff like the Marauders map and the Firebolt, which, was it ever shown who got Harry the Firebolt? I think it was Sirius, but I'm not sure. And then what I would say is the downturn of the series, like books-wise, where they got way too long, way too complicated. Well, okay, a lot of people like Goblet of Fire. I was kind of like, I don't like how depressing the later books got. I like the whimsy of the earlier books. Oh, look, tornado alarm's going off. It's, warning, siren, testing the system. Happens every Friday. Anyway, that was okay, but oh Lord, though. And then the fifth film, Order of the Phoenix. That's just that's where things really started getting bad, I think. Then uh, effing Half Blood Prince. That's where you had the stupid Ginny romance subplot. That's where Harry and Ron have a spat for no reason. No, wait, that's the fourth one. Well, they have another. I think they have two spats for no reason. And then that's where Snape kills Dumbledore. Oh God, best troll ever. Ugh. Someone who read the book was on, or I think had just seen the movie or something, was on their way out of the theater, and screamed at the top of their lungs to the people heading into the theater, "Snape kills Dumbledore," and like everyone flipped out. It was so funny. That's like a classic internet video. Uh, and then the Deathly Hallows was just dumb. Like, there's so much there. I don't know. The only good part about Deathly Hallows was Bill Nighy playing sort of the war minister, and we barely see him. Which, granted, he wasn't on any in the book as well, but I don't know. Then you get the stuff that I haven't seen, haven't read or seen, which is of course the Newt Scamander books or movies, whatever. Fantastic Beasts, that's it. And then the other two films. It's not even so much that like I didn't know what kind of person J.K. was at the time, so it's not like I didn't see them because I was against her yet. It's because they just didn't interest me. They looked like they were, cash grabs, which they were. They were poorly written cash grabs, like The Cursed Child. And people don't like me getting political, but if you don't want me to get political, turn away now. Things are about to go downhill fast for you. As Joanne got more and more successful, her politics started kind of showing more and more, and were leaning a certain way. There's this thing called a Blairite Labor Party member. Well, like a Blairite. Basically, they're a member of the Labor Party, but they have conservative values. So, they're a Tory in Labor's clothing. If you ever heard of a rhino, which is a American term for a Republican with Democratic leanings. It's kind of like that, but and of course it's named after Tony Blair, who everyone hates because he was kind of, I don't know. I can't get into British politics too much. I'm just an American. Anyway, she is kind of like that. She does not necessarily endorse the progressive politics that a lot of modern people do. And that's led to some very unfortunate things. She named the Jewish Hogwarts student Goldstein. She has a world of goblins controlling the banks. And, this isn't technically her fault. This is more... Well, this is one, the location, and two, the cinematography's fault. There is a Star of David on the bank floor of Gringotts. And that's because it's like the Australian embassy in England. And for some reason, the Australian embassy has a big Star of David on its floor. Uh, I don't know. And then, of course, you have the transphobic stuff. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going. If you don't agree with it, you're going to be bleh. And then, of course, like, there's the stuff where, you know, then you start looking at the stuff that was already there. Once people saw how vile she could be, they started looking at the stuff that was also there. They started looking at, like, how she treats Dudley, how she views fat people. Like, there is no room for fat people in Joanne's world. She also really hates dogs for some reason. I remember she really there's something about the way she writes where it's like she does not like dogs. Uh so Vernon and Dudley are both very fat characters. And they're the only characters that are described as fat in the books, as well as Vernon's sister. People will be like, oh, well, Professor Sprout. Professor Sprout is never described as being overweight in the books. Hagrid is never described as being overweight in the books. Hagrid is described as being massive because he's half giant. Uh, there, and like, I know people are like, oh, well, fat phobia isn't real. You think someone is less of a person because they have too much weight. And you can disguise it with a bunch of fancy flowery letters. Like, that does not. If you actually cared, you would be a lot more encouraging about your words than, like, oh, dude, you should review some salad instead. Like, if you actually cared, you wouldn't be such a piece of shit. Pardon my French, but I get sick and tired of people constantly commenting on my weight. Like, that is my own goddamn business, not yours. Oh, shit. And like, then you start to see, like, when you start to see the cracks, you start to see the problematic stuff. Like, we find out that Nagini is a human that is now trapped in the form of a snake, which is wretched, especially since she's an Asian woman trapped in the form of a snake, which is also pretty wretched. I don't know. Like, and then, like, okay, one of the most racist things that Joanne did in her books that people don't really talk about enough is she named her Asian character Cho Chang. She took two Chinese surnames and combined them together to make a character. And she overwrites a lot of her old material, trying to make it out like she's actually a lot more progressive than she is. Like, there's no hint that Dumbledore was gay in the books. There's no hint that Hermione was black in the books. It's not like Gregor the Overlander, where if you read between the lines, you can kind of tell that Gregor and his sister are both black, and that their father is probably black. I don't know. This was supposed to be a let's try of a butterscotch soda, and it turned into me rambling about losing my childhood to the depressed realities that a woman who I spent a greater part of my life adoring was flawed and isn't a good person. And like, I don't care if a person is flawed. I care if they are well-meaning. You know, And I'm sure her fans would look at me and the first thing they do is comment on my weight. But like I had the books, I had the toys, I had the movies, I had the video games. I loved Harry Potter with all my heart, and it betrayed me. You know, I can still like Buzz Lightyear even though Tim Allen's a prick. I can still like Hades even though James Woods is a prick. Because they aren't the ones who benefit from me liking those characters. I will say though, like the films had a star-studded cast, and possibly the best part about them was the three main actors. Rupert Grint embodies Ron in that he is just going around being himself. He's had a kid recently. He met Tara Strong at a Brony convention in a Brony shirt. So, well, I guess he's a My Little Pony fan. And Emma Watson is a activist. She was the first of them to kind of like say "F you, Joanne." And I honestly hope she's got a better. I honestly hope she goes on to do great things. And Daniel Radcliffe is doing everything in his power to make people forget that he was Harry Potter. And that is the most Harry Potter thing he could do. It's interesting because I think that was kind of. That is something he imparted upon the character. Because Harry is a blank slate in the books. He is completely stone-faced, an NPC. He is the player character, and you were just piloting him around, seeing what he sees. Like, the only characterization we kind of get for Harry is he... is that he doesn't like Hermione being, trying to help house elves. Which is, oh my god, we didn't even cover that. That whole BS with the house elves. Holy shit. And then the game that came out this year. God damn, you can say, oh, you're overreading. There is plenty of text there that's very, very, you know. As for me, I don't know. I've realized that Joanne isn't as good a writer as I thought she was, or as she thinks she is. A lot of her stuff is nonsensical, and weirdly enough, I have to say this. I'll end on this. Somehow, somehow we ended up where Stephanie Meyer, despite all her racist problems, kind of implied racism. Everything with the werewolves in her books is kind of weird and sus. But she designed vampires to be attractive. They glitter in the sunlight that would draw prey to them. That is impressive world building in a way. Very understated. Granted, everyone made fun of it with sparkling vampires. But then Rowling went and said, "Wizards poo out their bums and into these knickers, governor." If I ever had a J.K. Rowling XP in any work that I somehow got to be a part of, I would have her voiced by Tracer from Overwatch, doing the most abysmal Cockney accent imaginable, My Fair Lady, Mary Poppins level Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent. And if you are looking for YA fiction that is good, Sabriel by Garth Nix, Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld, and Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. I would especially say Gregor the Overlander because I would say that approaches the themes that Harry Potter had, but a lot better. And if you don't agree with me, if you're still a stan for Joanne, nothing I would have said would convince you. And all I can say is, just be good to people. It doesn't matter if you think that trans women are women or not, but it's kind. That's all I ask, is that you be kind. Don't, or, I giving people that small amount of kindness is worth the world. And that's all I have to say about that. Y'all have a good one. This is Royce Miller. I'm out.